At the age of 17, I became the youngest bouncer in Washington, D.C. In order to be a bouncer, the legal age is 21 years old uh, in a club that serves alcohol. I was 17. Even if the legal age was 18, I was 17. I had a hookup. It was like a dream come true at the time. You know, it was like a fantasy for me. I never thought that one day I would be a bouncer at one of the biggest nightclubs in Washington, D.C. Insomnia nightclub. They could hold up to 5,000 people. That, you know, Jay-Z and 50 Cent and, you know, all these celebrities and P. Diddy, Puff Daddy would go party at, you know, and um, it was just, it was pretty cool, you know. It was my first nighttime job. And I remember my first day on the job, I was so obedient and so respectful, and I took my job so serious that there was a group of girls that came up to me when I was checking IDs, and they cut the line, and there were hundreds of people in the line. And there were people waiting in line for, you know, even an hour just to get inside this place. So a group of girls come up to me, and the most, you know, pretty one out of all of them, you know, asked me like, what do I have to do to you to get inside the club? You know, sort of like trying to seduce me and stuff. And I smiled at her. I said, what you have to do is get back in line. And my boss heard that. And he was so proud of me. He said normally men don't say that. Normally men would flirt back and they would be victim to that, you know, that lustful temptation and invitation. And he was proud that me being a 17-year-old young man, that, you know, I was actually, you know, strong and I had willpower. And just that right there, that incident right there helped me to get promoted real fast, you know, in ranks. And people who have bounced there, who had done security there for years, and I'm talking about my coworkers were state troopers, off-duty police officers, military personnel, MMA fighters, sheriff deputies, just big, huge guys on steroids and big, tall guys. You know, they're 6'7" and 6'8", and they've been there for years, and they have, you know, one position IDs or guarding the back door, or one, you know, guarding the third floor, another one roaming the second floor, another one on the first floor. And the first floor was the biggest floor, and the first floor VIP room was the best job that any of the security bouncers could have, because you have celebrities come in there, you get tips from the mafia. We had the Vietnamese mafia, the Asian mafia coming in there, and again, the celebrities, and you would get tips, you know. And I got promoted in less than a year to become the VIP bouncer. And I was a VIP bouncer inside Insomnia. I was like, wow, you know, this was an honor to me. And I remember the night that Jay-Z had come in. Jay-Z was like a few feet next to me, and I shook his hand, and, you know, I thought he was such a big guy, but he wasn't that big after all, you know. I mean, he was famous, but big in you know, in physical attributes is what I'm talking about. And like, he smiled at me, and he respected me, and, you know, the other guys, you know, really respected me, because, you know, they know that I was an important security person there. I must know what I'm doing to have that status, that job as a VIP bouncer. I would have NBA basketball players such as Juan Dixon, who was, you know, drafted. He started playing for the Washington Wizards at the time, and he tried to get past me. Even I didn't let him pass me. I pushed his chest, and he fell, and you know, he tripped a little, he got back up, and he was like, yo, what's up, man? I'm Juan Dixon, I'm an NBA basketball player. What are you doing? I was like, I don't care who you are. I was like, you don't have a stamp, you can't come into here, you know? We got Jay-Z inside here. We got people from BET. You know, we got all kinds of people here. You cannot come in here without a stamp. He's like, but I play for the NBA. I was like, yeah, there's so many people who play for the NBA, and there's so many celebrities out here. They can't even come in here. So it makes you better than them, you know? So, again, I'm doing my job, you know, and Even Juan Dixon respected that to the point where he was trying to buy me drinks. He's like, "Oh, let me go get you a sex on the beach. Let me get you a drink and this and that." I was like, "No, no, I'm not drinking. I don't, I don't drink on the job and what have you." It's like a lot of people really respected me, and it was pretty interesting. Again, my life, was feeling more and more like a movie, like a fairy tale, basically. But I guess a movie would be describe it. Um, then it starts to get dramatic in the club scene. Like time goes by. I start to get bigger. I start to know more people, and I used to have uh, the Vietnamese mafia, and they would come to me and slip like narcotics in my pocket, like cocaine and ecstasy for it, and I would go in my pocket to see what it was, and the people will walk away by then. They think they're rewarding me, and when I seen the person who done that, or each individual who done that, I would ask them, well, why would you, what is this? They're like, that's money. I was like, what are you talking about, money? They're like, how much you can sell each one of those for? You know, $20, $30 each one. You can make $1,000 in just less than 1 hour and all this. And they were trying to beguile me, uh, being a dealer. And the whole time, I was training in martial arts, and the reason why I got the job as a security, as a bouncer, is because my goal was to become a DEA agent, which was, a coincidence. It's like, look at all these, cartel and mafia and narcotics, guys. And I thought about all the kids out there in the street, and I thought about my little sister, you know, thought about my little brother. I was like, what? I don't want these narcotics to be in their hands. I was like, it's so easy that they're slipping it in my pocket. I guess this is how they get people hooked. They know what they're doing. They're throwing the hooks out in the water, the bait out in the water, and they're waiting the fish to, to nibble at it and to eventually bite and get snagged on that hook. I said, no, there has to be a counter, uh, a counter for this scheme and this plot that they have. So I had resources, who worked with the DEA and the police department and the vice squad, and I was working undercover for a few years under some big things. And again, my endeavor was to be a cop. And verily, I'm telling the truth. I'm such an honest guy. Whether revealing this truth is going to get me killed or not in the future, and whoever does, what, good luck to you. Because I've been, told people about this. This is my past, and it's something that I wanted to do. Even Rick Ross, or was it Jim Jones or Rick Ross? Rick Ross, who's like the biggest narcotics dealer, crack cocaine dealer in California, he even admitted that he wanted to be a police officer or a fireman, before he became a drug dealer and what have you. But I really wanted to become a DEA agent, and I wanted to fight crime and investigate. And so this was my perfect opportunity. So I started to work undercover, and I helped take down like thousands of pills of ecstasy and get it off the street, and the list goes on and on. Eventually, it caught up to me, and I got jumped by the mafia, the Vietnamese mafia, and it was an inside job that also a bouncer, my own coworker, who was a Marine drill sergeant, ended up starting the entire thing. He gave me a concussion on my head. It happened to be that one of the leaders of the Vietnamese mafia was acting belligerent and pushing people, and I guess he was high off cocaine, and cocaine makes a person definitely audacious, and crazy and insane. Uh, so I grabbed the guy, and he was about to fight me, but I was huge and strong, and I squeezed him real tight, and he looked at me. It's like he didn't recognize me in the beginning, then he recognized me. He's like, "Oh, sorry." He knew I was the VIP bouncer. And because I grabbed him, he had, no joke, more than over 20 people, maybe 30 people that, like, sort of surrounded me, and they were about to jump me. They were all, like, his employees / bodyguards / family. So if he wanted to, he could have had me killed right there on the spot. And again, this, I mean, it just like a scene from the movie, you know. Um, I started escorting him outside the back door, and as I was taking him to the back door, I told the bouncers to get out of the way. They get out of the way, and I called for backup so the backup could control this crowd, as all of his guards who were following us. And we had like earpieces and microphones, like the Secret Service, you know. And you know, when I called for backup, some security arrived there right away, and this guy named John, who's a Marine drill sergeant, an older fella, he's probably in his 40s or 50s now, but he came over there to the back door. He's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Doing my job." I was like, "I'm kicking this guy out. He's pushing everybody. He's belligerent. He's assaulting people, and I'm kicking him out. And he can come back next week, but he's done for tonight." And John was like, "You got to be kidding." He's like, "Do you know who this guy is?" I was like, "I don't care who this guy is. He's not an employee here, and he has no right to be pushing people and kicking people and assaulting people." John said, "Let go of him." I said, "Excuse me?" I was like, have I ever gotten your way when you're kicking someone out and told you to let go of them? No, I would help you kick them out because I know you're doing your job. And we got into this debate, and this leader from the mafia is smiling the whole entire time because he knows that I'm digging my own grave now. And John ends up pulling out the big flashlight that he carried, and he caught me off guard, and he hit me. And he did it so fast, and it was so hard that I started bleeding, gushing blood right away. And for a second, I got stunned, And then I attacked him right away, and all these bouncers and our manager and the head of security got in the way, and they let this Vietnamese, the mafia leader, back inside the club. And before he went back inside the club, he turned around, he looked at me, and he just smiled and walked in. And I'm bleeding, and they're holding him back, and my coworkers are holding me back too, and I'm yelling at him, he's yelling at me. So I was like, you know what, I quit. I was like, forget this. I was like, let me go. So they let go of me, and I ended up walking down the steps. I walked to the back alley. I'm bleeding so much, but I had a plot. I had a plan, I pretended like I quit and I was going to leave because they know how I get. I have a temper. And so I ended up in front of the club, and there's hundreds of people in line, and the bouncers are busy, and they see me, and they're like, "Oh, what are you doing here?" And I'm like, "Oh, I just took a walk, I came around back." I was like, "I'm gonna go back inside." They're like, "Okay." And they didn't see the blood because I was wearing all black, and the blood sort of blended in, and it was in the back of my head. So I walked inside, walked all the way upstairs, and I got on my walkie-talkie, and I said, John, report to the back. John, report to the back. And I sounded like I was another bouncer. And as soon as I got to the back steps, I seen John, same guy who hit me, coming up the back of the steps. He's walking up the steps, and I was at the top, and I started walking down the steps. And before I did this, I seen the leader of the Vietnamese mafia. He was back inside the club, and he spotted me. And when he spotted me, he started talking to some of his guys, and he pointed at me. What it was about, I didn't care at the moment. My objective was retaliation. So John is walking. I'm walking down the steps, and he puts his hands like this. He's like, "Dude, I'm sorry, but I had to do that to save your life." And I kicked him right in his teeth at the time. I was like, "Now we're even." And there's cameras there, and like within like 2 or 3 seconds, the bouncers started swarming through the back doors, and they grabbed him. I told him, like, let go of me, let go of me. And they're all cool with me. They let go of me. I was like, now I officially quit. And I knocked out, according to him, 2 of his teeth, but I think I only knocked out 1 of his teeth. I think he was just trying to make me feel like we were even. But as I was walking downstairs and I went to the back alley again, I noticed there was one of my friends who was there, Harris, and he had a black eye that was like completely swollen. Like poor guy could not see out of the eye. I said, "What happened to you?" And he said, "I got jumped, man, in the bathroom by this group of Asians, you know." I was like, "Are you serious?" And he was like, "Yeah." And next thing you know, there was four Vietnamese guys that surrounded us. They're like, "Come on, fight, come on." And I was like, "Oh my gosh." I was like, "No." And Harris did not know that I had this concussion and I lost so much blood and what had happened upstairs. He knows I could fight. He was like, "Oh, they're them. Come on, we can kick their butt, you know." And I was like, "No, no, no, it's best we don't fight." I was like, "Man, it's four of them." I was like, "It's two of us, but really it's four of them and zero of us because I'm injured and so is he, you know." And I told the Asian guys, I was like, "Look, man, this is unfair." I was like, "Come on, man, y'all go do you, and we're gonna do us. We're just gonna leave." One of the Vietnamese guys picked up a rock in the alley, and he threw it so hard, and it hit me right here, and he gave me a scar, and my face just opened up, and blood was gushing out, and then they started charging, and real quick they went to Harris. Two of them, boom, 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 knocked Harris to the ground, and poor Harris was on the ground. Then, they all charged me. So I'm fighting someone in my north, my south, east, west, being discombobulated. I'm, befuddled. I'm perplexed, and I'm trying to stand up and fight these people. And my shirt got ripped in half, and I'm fighting the guy to the right, but the guy to the left is kicking me, and so I'm fighting him, and the guy behind me is kicking and punching me, and then I'm fighting him, and then the guy in front of me is. It was so difficult, and they were all like little Bruce Lees and Jackie Chans, and Jet Lees, like they were kicking and punching, utilizing every limb in their body and knees and elbows, and I'm being a soldier and a warrior standing up because I'm pretty sure they were shocked that I didn't fall to the ground because their objective was to take me to the ground and stop me. Mashallah, that didn't happen. And this is an alley that's in Chinatown and next to the Verizon Center, and nobody ever walks down the alley. It happened to be that night, at that time, two DC police officers happened to be walking in the area at that time, and they heard the ruckus that was going on, and they seen what's going on, and they ran. In the alley, it was such a long alley, and luckily, mashallah, they seen what's going on, and they ran over there, pulled out their batons, and started whooping them and beating them, and we were taking them down, and I got the last guy on the ground, and the cops looked at me, and I'm dripping blood back of my head or here because they even opened up my concussion back by hitting me in the back of the head. I was bruised up and bleeding on my neck and everywhere. And the cops asked if I wanted to press charges, and I refused. I said no. I said I just want to go home. And all of these Asian guys were just breathing hard, and they were just all looking at me, shocked, because they couldn't take me down. They were probably thinking that I'm such a tough guy, mashallah. But I was definitely injured. They really hurt me, big time. I lost a lot of blood that night. And I got in my car, and I started driving, and a lot of my coworkers, they jumped in front of my car, and they said, "You're not going nowhere." And the police stopped me too, and they're like, you know what, you have a right to go, but we don't recommend it. And they called an ambulance, and the paramedics came, and the female paramedics said, "You know what," they're like, "Sweetheart, if you go home and you fall asleep, you might not wake up because you have a concussion or a few concussions." And because they said that, they convinced me to go to the hospital with them, so I got a ride in the ambulance. They were turning on the sirens just for me, and it was a fun ride to the hospital, George Washington University Hospital. But it was pain for the next week because it took me over a week to recover from such a big beatdown. And it's sad how it was corrupt inside there that my own coworker, even hit me, with a metal flashlight. I mean, that could have killed me. It's corruption, all because of money. And I find out that this guy John was also working with the mafia, making extra money for trafficking, and it's crazy. But You know, that's life to be continued.